So let's dive into a few tips or techniques. A big one is storytelling. That's a really big one, isn't it? Tell us how that can impact a speech.
I think it gives stuff meaning, right? It makes the emotional connection when you tell a story. If you've got something you want to explain, if you've got a point that you want to make, saying that point just on its own naked is fine. I mean, it might get across to the audience, but if you can wrap a story around that point, it all of a sudden becomes a lot more powerful and a lot more memorable. And you see this all the time in the international speech contest, speech after speech after speech. It's all stories. People, no one's telling facts here because, I mean, it goes back to that old adage, right? Facts tell, stories sell.
Yeah.
It's the story which builds the connection, because if I share a story with you about my family, about my situation, about my problems, perhaps you can relate to that because maybe you felt something similar, and then we've got that connection. And then when it comes to my call to action at the end, you're much more likely to relate to it and get involved and take action on it. Because ultimately with speaking, what we want to do is get people to act on our words. And if we can use a story as a mechanism for achieving that, then it's definitely worthwhile including.
Yeah, and what you were saying as well about the, it's creating a trust, creating a relationship. And when you're telling your story, you're actually being vulnerable to a point, I suppose. And it's in that vulnerability where people will lean forward and they'll hear themselves in the story that you're telling. And that's what creates the relationship. And I think being vulnerable, not having a mask on and trying to be perfect and polished and all of this, I think that really does. And then especially if you have a call to action, because you're speaking, you've got an intention, you've got a purpose for speaking. There's always a message of some sort. And then you're called to action, and people work with people, people buy people, if you like, and if you're a coach or a speaker trainer, then it's really important to establish that trust with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the key things, and this goes for any presentation when you're meeting a new audience, is it's really important to tell your story, because the first question a new audience have is, who are you? And you need to answer that in a compelling way. And what a lot of people tend to do is they share their CV, Joanne. They tell you what they did, all the way back to kindergarten, in terms of, what they did in terms of jobs and all that boring stuff. But it doesn't really tell you much about them. We want to hear about you as a person. So that comes down to a specific moment in your life which pushed you in a certain direction. Like, I know you're involved in sleep therapy. I'm sure there was a moment in your life, Joanne, which triggered that curiosity, that fascination, which brought you into this career path. And we need to share these moments, because those are the moments we can connect with. We need to share our motivation, what inspires us, because that might just be similar to the people sitting in front
That is the biggest learning curve, is when you experience something. And I think that's the best teacher. Like, yes, we can go for our college degrees and get our certs and all of this kind of thing, but I think the biggest teacher is the experience. And when someone has gone through an experience, like you were, dreaded your speaking, you had a lot of that, but you had a drive, a willingness, a determination to be better, and you went through the whole journey, and you did what you had to do. It wasn't, and it was a process, it was a series of different events that built on you becoming better. But the point is, you enjoyed it the whole time, all along the way, whereas many people are trying to get somewhere and they just want to be the best speaker, but you're improving the whole time, and you're having fun, and you're learning loads and loads of different techniques along the way. So I can really hear that. So it's a journey. So not to be impatient. And as human beings, we can be very impatient.
Well, at the end of the day, there's never going to be an end destination, is there? Until
because
you're
what's
actually
next?
done.
When you've reached the top of the mountain, it's like, what's next?
Until you've actually left this world, there's never no end destination. It just keeps on going and going and going. So I don't think it's a good idea to have one fixed thing in mind. It's great to have goals, but realize that there's going to be a goal after that goal. It just keeps on going.
Absolutely.